I don't know if your numbers are 41% is not.
It's pretty nice letter.
The task order, she wanted to be back when I was kicking the
Never ideal. Never ideal. That's how we call the names.
I don't know about the deal, so I'll just smile and nod like the penguins.
On visitors, the seniors want to talk too.
Okay.
I guess Mike.
Yeah. See on the official time.
Official time.
What do we have for visitors?
7 o'clock. Mine says.
7 o'clock.
Okay, we're going to call this meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mayor Orr,
Here.
Councilman Baker,
Here?
Councilman Martinez,
Here.
Councilman Edwards,
Here.
Councilman Henninger, Councilman Villagrana.
Present. She isn't here.
We have
Okay, we need approval of the minutes of the regular meeting, February 2nd, 2015.
I make a motion that we accept the minutes for city council for Tuesday, February 17, 2015 as written.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Roll call, please.
Villagrana,
Yeah.
Baker,
Yes.
Martinez,
Yes.
Edwards,
Aye.
Mayor Orr.
Aye. Okay, next is the public hearing for the liquor license applications for Quincy's. Applicants Richard and Sandra Sanderson, address 121 West Main Street, DBA Quincy's. Is there someone here that wants to talk on behalf of Quincy's?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
How's everyone doing?
Good. We need you to come up to the podium. I need your name and address and everything.
You don't get the high back.
My name is Christina Neidhart. I usually go by Tina. My address currently is in Leadville, 128 East 7th Street. I will be moving down here in about a week and a half.
Okay.
Keep going.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. It's a cute little town.
Keep going.
So we're applying for a liquor license for Quincy's Restaurant, located at 121 West Main Street. We're hoping to have it open fairly soon, maybe end of March, beginning of April. Not quite sure about the opening date yet. We have 3 other Quincy's restaurants. I've worked for Quincy's for almost 12 years at the location in Leadville. And then we also have a Buena Vista and Salida location.
You might want to explain what Quincy's restaurant is.
So at Quincy's, we're only open in the evenings. We serve Sunday through Thursday. We serve a filet mignon dinner only, served with a baked potato salad with our house dressing, piece of French bread. On the weekends, Friday and Saturday night, we'll be serving a prime rib dinner, served with the same sides. So, steak and potatoes.
Good for you.
It's simple.
And you are going to be there.
I'm going to be the manager.
There you go.
I'm sorry. Thanks, Dory. I don't do this very often. So, yep, I will be the manager. I was the manager of the Quincy's in Leadville for a couple of years. And so, yeah, gonna move down here and try this one out. I think it'd be great. I think it'll be good. It's a cute little town. I'm excited to meet everybody.
It's just a first.
I really am, Paul. Why are you laughing?
You'll find out.
It is.
We need to go shoot.
She'll be on her own.
Okay, we need to go
We need to see if anybody.
see if all the paperwork and everything in the police report.
We need to see if anybody's
For
here to
sure.
speak.
Yeah. Is there any other comments in the crowd? Want to talk about it? You can go ahead and sit down.
Thank you.
I don't want to put you on the spot all the time. Is there anyone else in the crowd that'd like to talk on behalf of this?
Probably should have Richard and Sandy introduce themselves at least. Could you at least introduce yourselves because you're the owners?
I'm Rich Sanderson, this is my wife Sandy.
Yeah, we need you up there.
You guys can't hide that.
Right, okay.
No hiding.
I'm Rich Sanderson, and this is my wife Sandy, and we're the owners. Personal address is 13,000 East County Road 190. We live in Salida. We live up in Salida, and we're going to stay there. Tina will be moving down here to run it. We'll be down here off and on.
Okay. Question?
And it is a cute little town.
Oh, Larry?
And how long have you been in business? Could you tell us a little history?
The first Quincy's was in Leadville. That was in '97 we opened. And then Buena Vista, 2002, and Salida, 2008.
And they're still running.
Moving on down
It
the road.
looks like 2015 down here.
Well, it appears from some photos that I've viewed that those other locations are a bit larger than this.
They are. They're probably 40. This one will seat 55, 60. Those seat about 110.
Okay.
And but we like that actually. I
Okay.
think it'll be easier to run.
And I noticed that you have some people over there working very fast.
We do.
And then I think you two were there today.
Yeah, she's there a lot. I've been out of town actually, and
So,
yeah, then we've got a couple other fellows that are doing some carpentry work, and
but it's going to have a little different appearance than in the past.
yes, it will. I mean, it'll be different, a little bit different, but
We're trying to embrace the history of the Oasis Tavern and the history that it has and the Florence history. There's going to be some interesting historical things in there. Just trying to keep the tavern steakhouse atmosphere, but trying to embrace Florence and the history of it. Because that tavern, I think, was there for 75 years.
30s.
Yeah, and so trying to get together some big pictures and historical things and just kind of give it that local flavor.
Great.
Okay, that sounds very good.
Any other questions from council people?
Just, if you go to the Florence Museum, if you ever get a chance,
Rich, we met with Rich over there.
with Rich up there? Good.
We did.
And his two helpers, Roberta and Gail, can probably give you a lot of information about it, and probably maybe even some pictures.
I was in contact with Rich, and then I also went out to the historical records in Canyon too, which they say there's not too many photographs of Florence. But I found a really good, one of the antique dealers in town is a friend of mine. I used to have an antique mall, has loaned me one of the panoramics from 1912.
Council,
But if you need some pictures,
hey,
excuse me.
Councilman Edwards had his hand up.
Oh, go ahead.
Mr. and Mrs. Sanderson, you've been in the business before, and all my questions got out of line. It's more towards the liquor license. Any of your three businesses, have you ever had to revoke or suspend a license?
No, never revoked this. We got caught one time in where the state sends people out,
The sting.
an underage deal. Yeah.
Any other questions from council?
Just one comment.
Yes.
There is an original painting when it was the Oasis, and there's a camel parked right in front of the building.
Really?
A camel. I love it.
I tried to buy that painting, and somebody else bought before I had a chance. But it's most amusing when you look at it. In fact, when you first glance at it, you don't see it. But being the Oasis, and there's a camel parked in front.
Oh my goodness. And they didn't have Photoshop back then.
Yeah, we suspect there's more stories out there.
Oh, there is. And actually, I do have some history on that building.
Okay.
So, and if you don't have it, I'll give it to you. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other comments from the public? Okay, now we need to go into,
More than welcome to come.
we're going to close the public hearing now and go into the action following the hearing.
I would make a motion that we approve the liquor license application for Richard and Sandra Sanderson at 121 West Main Street, be named Quincy's.
Second. Looked like there were a couple
Yeah.
conditions. County health officer would need to issue a food service license. He's not quite done with his investigation yet. And also the fingerprint-based criminal histories would need to come back. I think those results are still pending. Was there anything?
Fingerprints are pending. I did the backgrounds.
You did the backgrounds, but we still need the
But we don't have
fingerprint.
Fingerprints, and that could be 6 months.
Yeah.
So I would amend my motion upon being fingerprinted to approve the liquor license application.
It's not contingent upon
Yeah.
fingerprinting, it's contingent upon a food service license being issued by Sid Darden, the county health inspector.
As amended.
That's the only thing that would
Okay.
be contingent upon.
As amended.
And that the findings that were in the local authority report are acknowledged. Okay. And who was the second?
Tony.
Okay.
I'll second the amendment.
Okay.
Okay. Roll call.
Bill Grant,
Aye.
Martinez,
Aye.
Baker,
Aye.
Edwards,
Aye.
Henninger. Oh, sorry. I should not hear.
Disappeared.
Mayor Orr.
Aye. And from now on, council members, if you would please raise your hand so I know when we can talk, get you in order and that, because I had like 2 or 3, so it'd just make things go a lot easier. Okay, moving on to the visitors. First one up is Richard Upton on the Gold Belt Tour.
Dick Upton, 401 Tanner. We had a Gold Belt Tour meeting last week over at the Senior Center, and as usual, they were very good hosts and gave us a very nice meal. But talked about a number of things, and I'm just going to condense it down to what really has to do with Florence, because there's a lot of work Gold Belt Tour does up in El Paso and Teller County on land preservation. But in Florence, one of the things was a grant for the sign project that I thought would be ready last tourist season, but it will be ready this tourist season because they are in production now for sure. It involved Florence Canyon with their Gateway project. Cripple Creek was replacing existing signs, and Victor is still in design. And the final approval went into the sign company, so they figure about 2 weeks to get them done. I brought a couple of proofs along just so you can get an idea of what they look like. This one is of the Senior Center when it still had the freight depot attached to it. Now, a little hard to see in the back, but you have the regular Senior Center and then the freight depot where there's just, I think, some foundations now. I do need these back because the museum is going to make up a walking tour having to do with there's 51 signs involved in this project. This is the Holt Mortuary when it was originally McCandless House, when it was fairly new, showing the brickwork and the porches that were on it at that time. And this is the Baker's Building, and they all have a little historical write-up on the history of it. And there is one for the Oasis Building. Whether it has the Oasis on it, I don't remember what building is actually on it now. It may be.
It's like a 1960s picture, so that's
But, say, I've got a whole stack of those. And the other sign that's in progress now is one more 2-foot by 4-foot sign that goes down here in the information center in the bank parking lot, and it'll be based on the early agriculture history of this area. Another thing that's done is the mobile app program is finished, and right now it's set up for an Android phone, whatever that is. I'm not up on that. But you go into a Google Play app and enter Gold Belt, and it'll bring it up. And as you travel Phantom Canyon Highway, Fluorescent, back down Shelf, as you reach a historic site, it will speak to you. But there's also videos, but don't watch it while you're driving. Actually, the video part, you have to have cell phone service, so it may be in a different area. I don't know what the cell phone service is on Phantom Canyon and the others. And there's also a new DVD of the Shelf Road, a historical documentary that is available. I'm sure it's getting how we're going to actually market it. So that should be a new interesting one. And the last thing, there's 25 current byways in Colorado. The one involving Florence in this area is the most active and does the most. And there is one new one that's coming up for a vote around Cortez, Durango, and northern New Mexico area. So that'll make it up to 26. Any questions on the Gold Belt tour?
Larry?
Yeah, I have one question.
Yes.
The photo that you have of our building, I would like your people to investigate that strange-looking antenna on top of that building. I've asked lots of people, showed lots of people that, and no one has any idea what that is. It's some kind of an antenna.
Well, I'm in the middle of a little science fiction book, and it may be an alien tracking device.
There we go. That's at least I have an explanation.
I bet that's what it is.
Oh, and real quickly, the museum is getting organized. We had our first meeting. One of the things we're going to address in 13, we had an architectural and structural assessment done, like was done on the manor here and some other places around. Wade is going to help us hopefully secure a grant at least to do the first phase. Another grant we received was from the Union Pacific for $3,000 for our newspaper preservation project, all the early papers in this area, to put them in acid-free environment. We open May 15th. Third thing is the car show. Website is up. T-shirt sales are starting. Registration forms have been distributed up in Denver and a couple of places, and mailings will probably go out to everybody this week. So, things are starting to come alive in Florence. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Okay, next visitor we have on the list is Mike from the Senior Center. I don't know, it isn't on yours, it's on mine. Told you.
Mike Vendetti, 501 West Main, Florence. And there's a bit of a misnomer here. That is a senior community center. And we welcome community activities at the senior community center. Speaking of preservation of Florence atmosphere, that senior center has a very unique roof on it. That roof is primarily a Ludowici French tile, manufactured by the Ludowici Tile Company somewhere in Ohio, and it is very expensive. I've gotten 3 quotes to replace the roof. All the tile will not need to be replaced, but a portion of it will need to be replaced to keep the building in its original, or the roof in its original form as it was before. So we're looking at about $95,000 to replace the roof the way it is on the Senior Community Center. And the Senior Community Center does not have the money to match the typical grant that you get from corporations or grant people, so we need to go after a historical grant. Am I right, Wade? Is it that's
State Historic Fund.
State Historic Fund? We've been working with Wade and really appreciate all his help. And so we would like to be designated as a local historical landmark, so we can go after the type of grant that it takes to replace the roof and preserve the flavor of that building, which is, I think, just very unique in Florence. Otherwise, if we have to go by the regular route by getting a grant, then we would probably be faced with not using the Ludowici tile, but getting another type of tile on that roof, or another type of roof, a metal roof, whatever we can afford. And once you do that, then if someone were to come along in, say, 40 years and want to replace that roof at today's market, that roof would cost $200,000 to go from scratch. So we had a vote in the Board of Directors of the Senior Community Center, voted today, and we would like to become a historical building in Florence. So I thank you, and I just really appreciate, I think, as a resident of Florence, I really like the idea of preserving the historical atmosphere that we have here in Florence, and the Senior Center is ready to be number one, or along with other buildings that we're in.
Well, I think you're in the best hands when you're with our city planner, because that's right up his alley to be of historical stuff. So I think you're in the right direction of what you're going right now.
Because we really want to preserve the flavor of that building. On the roof, we're probably good for maybe another year, or maybe 2 years, say at the most. But eventually, we're going to have to do something with that roof. And we've got different ways to go, but we would prefer not to go on the cheap, but the cheap is what we can afford unless we can get a historical grant. So I thank you very much. Any questions?
No question? Mr. Edwards?
My question, I think, is mostly possibly for you, Mr. Mayor, maybe through Wade. Would that be a city designation, or that we would take action on? Would that be something state level?
Wade talked to you about it.
Doing my city planner report, that ordinance that we're working on, once we establish the ordinance, we have a commission, and then we can make our own landmarks, and then it can apply for those grants, because they were told they were not eligible for the National Register because of the changes, and that's true, but they could be a local landmark and then eligible for the grant. So he's ambitious, and we haven't finished the ordinance yet, but as soon as we do it, then we can have a process and move it forward.
Great. Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next one up is the steampunk, Bruce and Barb.
I'm Bruce Jensen, 132 West 2nd Street in Florence.
Barb Brierly, 111 West Main in Florence.
We're here this evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council people, to ask for some street closures for an upcoming event. Mostly Barb is the spearhead behind it and the energy, and it's going to, we propose it, we're going to have it on the April 11th and 12th, the weekend of, and it's going to be down in the maybe the southeast portion of town, but it's going to encompass the whole town. We're not, I think you've got the map in front of you for what we're, Yeah. No. Did you make copies of that one?
No, because you were going to bring a clean one tonight.
I don't see no man.
I don't see it, right?
All right. I do. A little too clean, but it's not a big deal. We're only asking for front. Yeah, it's written up there.
Where's Pikes Peak?
This is Pikes Peak, yeah.
Down to here.
Oh, okay, down to here. I'm sorry, I didn't realize that. I would have gotten everybody a copy. That's the one I just penciled in. It's so that we do the least disruption of other businesses in that way. We're doing Pikes Peak from the north at the alley down to Front Street from west to east to Petroleum, and Petroleum up to the alley that parallels east and west beside the Elks and the Florence Neighborhood Garage. And it'll encompass the area where the Elks, Eagles, and American Legion Club is, and then along Front Street, and then up in front of the businesses, and that's going to be for vendor parking and for the activities that are going to be presented during the time of the festival. Yeah, the festival will involve, there's going to be a Western Town. Oh, yeah, Hannah. That'll explain it. We got a poster. Yeah. I have a Western Town with gunfighters. We're going to have horses and wagons there for rides, and the indoor portion of it is going to be encompassed inside the Elks building, where the wine will be served. The Abbey is participating in bringing down their wine, and then of course the Elks is going to be open, and they'll be getting a special use permit. I think that Sharon was going to bring that down today. She didn't. Well, she'll be bringing it down tomorrow, and I've got the balance of it from the Abbey
I just need
here.
it by next Friday.
And I got the Abbey.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
She called, we did talk.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, she'd indicated that she was, yeah, well, she talked to you today anyway. That was close. And it's, the reasoning behind a new festival in town of this type is Barb had come up with, we don't have anything to kick off spring here in Florence, and this would be a good idea, a good time just to be the first event to bring people to Florence to discover Florence, and should be a fun time. It's a new concept, relatively. Yeah, for here. Yeah, steampunk is real big in Europe, I found out, and some of the bigger cities are catching on to it. There has been a couple like events in Victor had one last year and the year before. There was one in Durango, and there's one coming up in Grand Junction. So this will be, all eyes are going to be on Florence to see how accepted it is and what they do. It's a lot of fun. It's hard to explain. It's a music. Oh, maybe he'd like to explain. No. Yeah, it was. I'm learning on the go here. I hadn't heard of it until she came up with the. I'd heard the name, and I thought it was a drink. But yeah, it should.
Victorian meets the future.
Yeah, the Victorian era meets the future. From all the websites I've perused lately, I kind of describe it as H.G. Wells meets Laurel and Hardy in Disneyland. But it's a lot of fun. It incorporates Western and Victorian era. It's the celebration of the steam era, when steam was king. I doubt if any of us can remember that. But the venue is kind of open to the imagination, so it should be a lot of fun. There's a lot of people who are really excited about it, already got their costumes coming out, and there'll be somebody here that's even going to do custom costumes. They're going to be down here a couple days in advance, and if somebody wants to have a costume, order some of them. We're going to try and involve the merchants and shops downtown. They already have a lot of stuff in their shops, which would work great to fit in the costuming area. So, anyway, you have any questions? And then maybe, or do you want to say something?
Mike's been wanting to ask something.
Just on the map, first, did you want Union closed from Railroad down? I know there'd been discussion before about the possibility of having that be for vendor parking.
That's going to be open for vendor parking.
It'll be open to public parking, and probably the vendors are going to get there first.
But if you're planning on having people actually park, unless you're just wanting them to park on the side of the street, we'd actually have to close the street and make it parking like, so if you want to park somehow, or do you just want regular parking there?
Just regular
I
parking.
think regular, because they're going to be parking their cars before 9 in the morning.
And then the other question that I have is, are you planning on having Pikes Peak closed the entire time or open back up at certain hours?
It'll be closed for the event, which is Saturday night and Sunday. Just because they're going to have vendors set up.
So you want it closed, you want all these streets closed and just closed up the whole time?
Overnight, yeah.
Overnight.
Overnight, yeah. The vendors will be set up, and we don't want to have to force them to move everything.
I think you said the closure time would be Saturday morning from 5 a.m. to Sunday night at 7?
Yeah.
Sunday night at 7 p.m.
Let the vendors
That
get
would be
stuff.
the total street closure.
The timing, yes.
And you've talked to all of the people who are impacted?
Not personally, but one of us has contacted everybody along there, and they all are fine with it. Some of them even signed waivers, but we talked to Carochi Brothers. He was the only one that somebody had a question about it, and he said, no, that's no problem. Because they're closed. A lot of them are closed on Saturday and Sunday. The credit union is closed, and they're, and we offer...
They're all aware.
Yeah, they're all aware of it, and some of them will actually be setting up a booth of their own in front of their own shops, so.
Any other questions?
Mike asked the questions that I was going to ask.
Larry? Morty had a question. Okay, we'll go to the public in a minute. Is there any council people?
One last question, if I could. The last question I have, it says on the brochure here, we've got gunfights and horses. Do we have horses that are used to the popping sounds and that kind of stuff?
What we're going to do, the gunfights are going to be scheduled, like 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock, whatever. And the horses are taking their break during the time of the gunfights, and they are all aware of that fact. So the horse people will keep their horses away from the gun.
That makes sense.
We know that.
Yeah, we don't want...
I'm a horse person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know much about horses, I just...
You don't want them bucking
That sounds like
during
a good combination.
gunfights. These are big draft horses, too.
We don't want them rampaging down the streets. That's all I have.
Can we go to the public now for questions? Maureen,
I didn't quite understand which roads were being closed, but
you want to look at this map?
was there access for the Riviera Hotel? Because that's the only business I was thinking about could be impacted.
There is.
There is, and
Yeah,
Helena,
down Union.
she's
yeah.
probably gonna have all the vendors at her place anyway. So
Yeah.
she's gonna be booked.
Somebody looking for us to pass this tonight.
Yeah, it's a legitimate street closure. Everything else is being down.
So what are they looking? And you're looking for the city just to put up the barricades is all and close it?
Right.
And there's no state roads?
And also to participate, or if the city would help with the, carry the insurance that they normally do for road closures,
City events.
city events.
You would be asking us to be partners, because that's the only way that we can cover the road, or the insurance piece.
If we are part of to the event, we don't get a special event policy. There's no premium. It's just the city's insurance.
So we're still not where we need to be then?
Well, no, I think they've submitted everything they need to submit.
The alcohol, we've got that straightened out. There's.
Okay.
Do you want me to, I'm going to try to describe it one more time for the public on the map. Basically, think of in front of the senior center on Pikes Peak, up until you go all the way through Front Street, up to the alley next to Louis. That's one street that would be closed. Another street that would be closed would be Front Street from Pikes Peak to Petroleum, and then Petroleum would be closed from Front Street to the alley, in between the Eagles and the.
We are going to be taking all those buildings. We're renting all the clubs, so
The
that,
three clubs.
So that whole area
street
will-
there, all the Elks, the Eagles, and the.
so we want
And the
them.
newspaper's gonna be blocked too?
Close.
The closure will be at the stop
And the
sign
museum
by
hasn't
his,
opened
Stop
yet.
sign.
the closure will
Royal
be.
Marble on that side, there's essentially,
They were
if the
cool.
museum's not there, there's not really anybody who's on there on Saturdays, on Sundays, I wouldn't think. There is like one residential unit. Did you talk to them on Front Street?
Yeah, there's a couple.
Well, I'm thinking first on Front Street, because I know there's one there. There is one house.
Kenny lives in.
Well, I'm just thinking on just the one on Front Street, because not to mention where Kenny and all them live, but that's
The one
up here.
next to the Marble place?
Across the street from it.
That's
Oh,
part of the
oh.
Riviera.
Who is it?
That's owned by the Riviera.
No, across the street.
We're talking about by Carochi's.
Right next to the credit union, right next to the Pueblo.
Yeah, where the Cadillac is out.
If you close Petroleum, is that closed? Petroleum Street is
Not the
closed?
whole, after the,
Just from
Just
the
half of
alley.
it, because back behind the American Legion, there are 1, 2, 3 homes.
Yeah, those can be accessed from the alley back to Railroad, the way we went today, but I don't,
Yeah.
that's something to consider.
Okay.
We'll get down there and make them aware, and if they have any objections,
Mike?
So the house on the south side of Front Street next to Riviera, they would either park on Union and have to walk in, or would they access off of Railroad around that dirt road to get to their house and to the Riviera?
Or can they come through the alley? Because they do go, that house does go back to the alley behind it, but, so you don't know if anybody's talked to that residential unit?
I wasn't aware that was a residential unit.
That's lived in, and there's 2 families who live in there, and that's the one just east of the Riviera, and then the Riviera.
The one east of the Riviera, I thought would belong to the Riviera.
It
That
does,
was-
but there's another one.
There's another
Oh,
one.
going
two
west,
blocks,
oh,
actually,
yeah,
two more.
okay, I'm sorry.
Going east?
Yeah, yeah.
Need to.
Yeah, they would be accessible, but it'd have to be going around. And I'm sure if it was important, they could come in on Union, and they just got 100 yards or less to drive down.
Yeah, but you're blocking the street up, are you gonna have vendors on the street on front?
They would be, but they won't be blocking the street totally.
Car driving through, people walking is a kind of a hazard in my book. I wouldn't want a car, somebody having to man that station at Union.
Oh, I see what you're saying, yes.
Car in, just go to the Riviera, and they're walking and driving Twinkies, or walking all around there. Access off railroad, possibly.
Well, the house I'm thinking of is one that's mid-block. It's, I mean, you're thinking about the other three over by,
I'm looking at the south side, yeah, same side.
but there's one on the north side, right next to the credit union. And the one, now they could, they can access through the alley. I don't know if they have parking spaces back there. They could access through the alley.
Still, they need to make sure everybody's contacted about it.
They could get through the alley, Mr. Patterson, on the north side one, but the Riviera on the south side would have to come through that dirt road along the
ditch.
wash there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where those three houses in the Riviera would have to be accessed.
Open for Riviera and for that house.
And you're gonna have vendors on all of these streets?
On Pikes Peak and Front Street, and then around the Elks and the Eagles and the VFW, we want, or the Legion, we want some of the food vendors to be set up there.
That answers your question, yes.
Okay, Larry, you got a question?
I do, I have a question. Now, if I understand this correctly, they're asking us to partner for the insurance purpose, is that correct?
Yes.
When have we started to have individuals partner with us? It's always been a 501, or it is an established organization. So now we're changing our policy?
We haven't changed anything, they're requesting, and I'm not sure who's requesting. I don't know
I don't think...
who's requesting.
Well, I mean, I'm questioning this because we've never dealt just with an
I
individual.
think the chamber is partnering,
The
so it's
chamber is
basically
partnering
the
with
chamber
the people with the committee. The steampunk is a committee, and then the chamber's partnering with them, and the Elks is on board, and they're a 501c3, but...
Well, I will say this, from what I understand, and I was not present, but I understood the chamber board did not approve a partnership to go in this. Now, I think Bruce is working as an individual, working with them, trying to get this thing on the road, but...
And that's what I'm saying, I believe Barb is an individual who has a committee who's
which is now
partnering with
under
having the chamber
the
help her.
umbrella of the
But who is
chamber.
putting this on does not have a name.
Got approved.
Then I have a problem with it.
Yeah.
For insurance purposes. Oh, boy.
You might as well come up front.
Wasn't the Kick in the Butt Barbecue a private organization?
No, they were organized, Kicking the butt.
Yes.
But also, we at that point, they had to pay for their own insurance. The
They
insurance
did
thing,
their own.
partnering with people is a recent activity that the city council has just embarked upon. So this is a new endeavor.
This is correct.
Okay.
Did you want to speak for the chamber? No? As president of the chamber? Okay. Council, do you have any other questions?
So may I ask for clarification, you want street closure, we'll get to the alcohol piece in a minute, and you want partnership on the event for insurance purposes. That's the request of the council today.
You're right, yeah, just the insurance that normally goes with any street closures.
If you got this, well, it doesn't normally go with it, that hasn't happened before. I mean, it's the council, I believe, has agreed to do it for
We've been able to
for the
participate
merchants.
in helping purchase the insurance, and if that is something that might be requested, we'd certainly be open to it.
So for tonight's purposes, you need to be able to advertise whether insurance is finished tonight or not. What you need is road closure and potential, well, of course, we can't, I'm not going to touch alcohol yet because I don't understand it completely, so I'll leave that to Dory. But for purposes right now, you're asking for the street closure. Whether or not the city's partnering with the event or separate event insurance is being purchased, that's something that can be tackled, not necessarily.
If that has to be ironed out, we'll iron it out.
Okay. So council, if you choose to say yes to the street closure, you can do that, and we can still work through the insurance stuff in the coming week. But this gives them time to get going on the advertising if you say yes to the event.
But what I think Mr. Baker is saying, he would say yes, but he doesn't want the city involved in it. Is that what I'm getting from you?
You understand it quite clearly.
Okay.
Okay, so you're saying yes, potentially to the street closure.
Well, if the motion is made to encompass everything, then I'm going to vote no.
Okay.
Mr. Edwards?
Again, I'm all for this evening. I just question the procedure we're going on this, and I'm sure I'll get clearance. But this is not on the agenda, and there's not really, with it not being on the agenda, there was no chance for opposition, and I question the council's
It's actually on the agenda.
Do you see where it says Bruce Jensen and Barb Riley?
Under visitors, but not upon new business. And I just question the council's due diligence for public to oppose or go for this.
I think for purposes of informing the public as to business that may come before the council, that's adequate.
All right, so I guess next, we want to see if this will fly.
Fly now.
So I need either a motion on the floor.
I have to make a motion, except I don't understand what
Yeah. Don't feel lonely.
I'm going to go up and draw it on the board.
There you go.
Let's just make this easy. Ignore my lack of artistic skills, please.
I like you.
Or intro.
And of course, we got stuff on the board.
Sitting doesn't like me.
So you're going to have to try to see through the formula behind
I
it.
thought they had been. I don't know. I thought they had been here for
Yes,
last
they
time.
are. That ruins it.
You gotta get it straightened out. And here we are again. So, see what I showed you.
This is Front Street.
This is what I showed you.
This is the senior center here. They're asking for it, and here is Railroad. They're asking for it to be close here, and then to the alley. This is Louis on that side of the alley. Asking for it to be closed there. They're asking it to be closed on front. Here's Petroleum. So they're asking the closure to go from here to here, and here to the alley, and then to the alley of Petroleum in front of the fence over there. So the closure would be that would be the closure in red.
Nothing on, in front of the senior community center?
No,
on
it's-
Railroad to Union, that's open?
Yep.
It's open.
Correct?
Correct. Yeah, we want to leave access.
Here, Kenny, and then they can access their house. Theoretically, the place I'm talking about, there's a residential unit right there, they could access